Your golf ball is the most technologically advanced, or it's not. Your golf ball is either the most consistent, or it's not. It's the most trusted, or it's not. The fact is, it's either Titleist, the best performing golf ball in the world, or it's not. Prove it for yourself. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. What will you play?
Ball up!
I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 64 of Playing from the Tips, Golf Australia Magazine's preview and tipping podcast covering all corners of the globe and professional golf. Jimmy Emanuel here once again in the host chair as we visit Fort Worth, Texas, Antwerp, Belgium and Benton Harbor, Michigan in the post-PGA Championship glow. As we do each week, it is time to welcome our so-called experts, and with a relatively quiet week and in the wake of a poor tipping week, meaning Logue has fled the country, today I am joined by the one and only bedrock of the golf podcast game, Rod Morri. Rod, welcome.
Thank you, mate. I've been called a lot of things. Bedrock might be one of the nicer ones, but also one of the more unusual.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was both.
Yeah, well done.
And we do note that Logue has fled the country after not tipping a winner at a major, not getting a top 10 anything. He's gone.
Yeah, shocking performance, as he should. He needs a couple of weeks off. Take a rest. Go back to your old coach, Logue, like Hovland did.
Yes, exactly. Rod, as we just mentioned, Logue has taken a week off after poor tipping, but we still proudly acknowledge our year-to-date 11 wins, 67 top 10s. Yes, we're not mentioning what we did last week because we didn't do anything last week, but those are still results that are unrivaled in the golf podcast tipping created in northern suburbs of Sydney game.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Category that frankly we dominate.
Well, it's a different category every week if you haven't noticed. Yeah, sure, they share similarities, but they're always different.
You always got to be ahead of the game.
After last week, with obviously Xander Schauffele becomes a major winner, Nelly Korda wins for the 6th time. Any big standout takeaways from you?
So much good stuff. It's hard to say which is kind of the best of them, but I'm going to go with something a little left field and go with KJ Choi winning on his 54th birthday on the Korean Tour. Great effort. That's quite remarkable.
Yep. Yeah. I think it was mostly highlights last week. There was obviously a bit of tragedy and a bit of confusion around Scotty Scheffler and a jail spell, but I think Xander Schauffele was really good. Bryson DeChambeau was a huge upside for most. People miss the occasional lunacy and clear love of what he does. I think on the PGA side, it was a lot of pluses, probably outside of Valhalla as a major championship test.
Yeah. Schauffele winning obviously is the big thing that'll be remembered, but really it was kind of DeChambeau's week, wasn't it? You're right. He's a showman. He loves the limelight. He plays to it. He does it well. I'm not a fan personally, but what a golfer and what an entertainer. Just amazing.
I saw him described by someone as Marmite or Vegemite, that some people just can't stand him but appreciate that other people do, and other people just absolutely love him and can't understand how everyone doesn't.
Very, very good, Jimmy. I like it. Marmite or Vegemite. Beautiful.
And then Nelly Korda, of course, winning for a 6th time. Hannah Green, from our side of things, very positive, but Nelly Korda just too good.
How much adrenaline is too much adrenaline for one day, Jimmy, to be watching what wasn't it really? Yeah, you can criticise the course, and I would, and all of those sorts of things, but what a finish in terms of entertainment. And then over on the LPGA, not only what a finish, but one of our own in Hannah Green. You can't help but be a bit biased when you're watching that sort of thing. So close. Gabby Ruffles, another great run. Really, kind of almost too much to cover for the week. That's a big important moment. Nelly Korda is doing something really important, and we won't really know for another year or two how important, but it's really important what she's doing.
Exactly. Exactly. Let's get into this week. And first, Rod, you're going to take us through one of the long-running PGA Tour stops, despite a fairly recent name, the Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial Country Club.
Well, Jimmy, talk history, talk golf, talk PGA Tour. This is the place. A little bit like this podcast, this is, let me see, the longest-running non-major tournament hosted at the same venue continuously. So
nice.
They're leading their category too.
Nice.
So,
it's just all category leaders this week.
That's exactly right. So, look, Colonial Country Club, most people in golf will have heard of it, and most people will make a connection to Ben Hogan, as they should. He won there 5 times. This tournament started in 1946, been played at this golf course every year that it's been played since, which is really, when you think about it, can you imagine living in a community like that, where this was just an annual thing like Christmas or Easter? Yeah. Along comes May, and there's the PGA Tour in town. As I said, Hogan won there 5 times. He had good connections to this course. The club was founded by his childhood and early professional career mentor, Marvin Leonard. And so he always had strong ties there, and obviously was a member there and well known. Now, here's the thing, Jimmy, when you're a bit like Augusta National and you played at the same venue every year and everyone gets to know it, would you choose to start tearing up the golf course completely the day after last year's tournament and expect to have it back ready to play this week? Because that's what they did. Really,
yes,
you'll hear a lot about this week. It's just, wow.
Yeah, exactly. I remember it last year, and it was just I can't remember where it wasn't here, but there was a year they played a tournament at a regular stop on the PGA Tour where they started ripping it up behind the field.
That's right.
Just going, we're getting ready. We got a job.
That's right. Leaders are on 10T and the tractors are sitting in the background waiting for him to hit off so they can follow them down the fairway, digging it up. That is an extraordinary engineering, and because they didn't just replace the grass, they redesigned. So one of the things that means is a lot of the history of performances here is probably a little bit sketchy now because the course is literally completely different. It might as well not be the Colonial Country Club they were used to. And it also makes it more interesting as a spectator. Let's see how it plays. I think the brief that Gil Hanse was given was to turn it back to looking like it did when it opened in 1936. So that will be really interesting to see this week. And the course will be a star of the show because it always is at this venue. Week after a major, Jimmy, Scheffler's fronting up. I know he's Texan, loves Texas, and Spieth's another one who's fronting up from last week. Not that he played particularly well. It's quite the schedule Scheffler's got himself on. Wouldn't you have taken a breath this week, don't you think? Especially after what happened last week, that whole bizarre arrest and the insane reaction to it on social media.
Well, it's another place that gives away a jacket, so he's obviously short of a sports coat. So he's obviously gone there thinking, I'll get another one of these. No, I did find it quite unbelievable that I obviously knew he was planning to play there, but after everything that's happened last week, the baby being born the week or so before, I would have thought there was a need for just a little bit of the switch being turned off. I don't know where he's at in terms of having played this every year or not, whether it's his event that you've got to kind of play one you don't normally play. I don't know whether he's using it as that. I don't think that's the case. I think it's in my home city. I'm going to go and play. But it'll be interesting to see how he's going. I mean, the charges were supposed to be arraigned on Tuesday morning if they are proceeding. So, I don't know if he has to be present for that or anything like that. So it's truly remarkable what's going on in his world at the moment.
I think word through this morning that the arraignment has been delayed till June 3, and it looks like every chance the charges might actually be dropped. That seems to be what's circulating. So we'll see what happens anyway. Let's not touch on that. There's episodes in what unfolded on Friday.
There, yes.
Yeah, on Friday. So, look, Scheffler will be the man to beat. His Sunday performance after his Saturday slump. He had his slump. Every player has a slump at some point, Jimmy. Scheffler had Saturday. And he came back on Sunday and was Scotty Scheffler again. So, first
big
over
slump.
par round since August last year or something. Just remarkable. So,
and Teddy Scott wasn't there either. So you can blame it on that probably more than anything.
You reckon the pay rise negotiations at the end of this year will focus heavily on last week?
I reckon Ted's got him just as right where he wants him.
That's right, over a barrel. So look, even if he's not at his best, even if he's fatigued, even if he's distracted, he's still going to be the man to beat because he's playing so well that his bad golf is better than most people's decent or good. So he's going to be the man to beat, but I'm not going to tip. Well, a few others in the field. It's not an elevated event, so it's not as strong as some of the other post-major weeks we've had. Morikawa, Justin Rose both played well last week. Interesting who's out. McIlroy, Hovland and Schauffele not playing, obviously. I would have thought one of them. I wouldn't have thought Schauffele would turn up, but I thought Victor would turn up, given how he played last week. He was on a roll. He's a confidence player. He
was due to play. He withdrew. So he was in the field and then has taken out. I think it's maybe not that surprising given he played very well last week, clearly, but literally a week or so before he'd partnered back up with Joe Mayo, a guy who coached him last year when he was playing so well. I think it's been seen as a positive and, hey, let's go put some work in before the US Open, which is not far away. And on that Joe Mayo, Victor Hovland thing, Kevin van Valkenburg, no laying up, wrote an amazing long-form story about Hovland's relationship with him, his relationship with coaches last week that is worth your time. Go and read it. It is it is proper old-school journalism with a big J.
Bit of a shame in some ways that he played so well, Hovland, because the
story
was really pertinent.
Blew it.
It didn't ruin it. Just it's like Van Valkenburg has been going, why? Why this week, Victor? Give me a week. Is that too much to ask?
I've been there too. I feel you, KVV. Yes.
Yes, indeed. But you're right. It was a fantastic piece. I got 3/4 of the way through, got distracted, but I do want to finish it. It's one of those pieces that you do want to finish. Look, for all of that, it's another week on the PGA Tour. There are a few big names in there. You'd expect another week of entertaining golf. And while most people will tip Scheffler, and that's sensible, I'm going to go with Bob McIntyre, who I thought had a really interesting pivotal week for him. He's been struggling to adapt to life in the US. He really looked comfortable last week, and the old Colonial would have suited him, so maybe the new one will too.
I agree completely. He was one of the standouts last week, Bob. And the way he talks about his golf game, you would have thought he was the worst player in the world going into last week, and he's just gone in and gone very close. So a good call. But I'm going to go with Tony Finau, trending in the right direction. Shared 18th last week. Proper ball striker. That used to suit the old Colonial, so you assume it will transfer over. Redesign generally helps the not-so-good putters who can level out a little bit. That's Tony, and he's kind of one of that sort of elite level in this field, so makes sense to me that Tony would be going close, if not winning. Of course, with him not here, it means we get to return to the segment of who would Logue pick. So I've actually handled this one.
Oh, good work. Because I was just about to do it the Logue way. I was just looking up the field and I was just going to read it until I saw a name I recognised.
And here's the thing. I've gone with the other Logue method, which would be to talk around the temptation to pick Scotty Scheffler and how good he is and all this sort of stuff, and then finding some bizarre piece of evidence about the Louisville justice system that means that he wouldn't win, that then he goes with Colin Morikawa because he was the next best finisher. So that's Logue's obscure thoughts on this one.
Yeah, well done, Logue. That's a good pick.
Yeah, well done. That was insightful. That's what people come for.
Titleist is the #1 ball in golf. Yes, being #1 is a number, and more players trust the Pro V1 or Pro V1X than all other golf balls combined. But being #1 is more than a number. It's a mindset. It's a relentless mission to design and manufacture the best performing golf balls in the game, so you can chase whatever your #1 is. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf.
All right, let's go next. DP World Tour and the Soudal Open in Belgium. What is Soudal, you ask? Well, you go to their website and the Soudal Group is building the future.
Oh, thank God someone's doing it. I've been thinking about that. I was going to get a start on it myself.
How they're doing that is as Europe's largest independent creator of sealants, adhesives, and polyurethane foams. Didn't know we needed that many for the future, but here we are, and good on Soudal. Although it has a different name, it is the Belgian Open, basically. It was briefly the Belgian Knockout. It was also, interestingly in my research, the first European Tour win of the late Noel Ratcliffe, who passed away just a couple of weeks ago. So
legendary Australian player,
the Rat. Fifth straight time goes to Rinkven International, which is a 36-hole facility in Antwerp, and they use a composite of the back nine from the south course and the front nine from the north course. Interestingly, though, the one that's the back nine from the south course is actually the front nine, and the front nine from the north course is actually the back nine. So
you're Royal Melbourning me. I can't
exactly. It's not even close to Royal Melbourning, and it's Royal Melbourning. But it's kind of heavily tree-lined, very flat bit of land, plenty of dog legs. It's what you expect of this sort of part of Europe for the majority of their golf. They've got some standout golf courses and stuff, but this is kind of the run-of-the-mill sort of stuff. Fairly standard sort of DP World Tour field as well. You've got winners that kind of stand out off the page: Pablo Larrazabal, Adrian Otaegwe, Yannick Paul, Bernd Wiesberger, and the defending champion Simon Forstrom, who came through Q School and then won last year, and it was actually quite a good finish in this event. And then significantly, one-time tournament host, now live golfer, Thomas Pieters, teeing it up this week. So one of these occasions we get where a live player is playing a DP World Tour event because clearly the event wants them there and the tour's not going to argue. So Peter, I think it was Peter's Production Co. used to put on the event when it was the Belgian knockout.
Thomas Pieters has a production company.
I don't know if they've been that busy since the Belgian knockout, I'll be honest. But Thomas Pieters in the field. The Aussies are Jason Scrivener, who, congratulations to Jason, just qualified for the US Open at European final stage. American final stage is going on right now. And then he's joined by Dave Micheluzzi and Hayden Barron. Rod, who do you think is going to win?
Well, funny you should mention. I completely forgot what you just mentioned, but it was pertinent. I'm going to go with Matteo Manassero, US Open qualifying. I'm going to go with Matteo Manassero because he too got through and he feels like he could be the fairy tale story of the US Open. There's loads and loads and loads of contenders, but he'll be one. If he plays well at the US Open, then this could be the start of a good run. So, yeah, he's back and had a win this year. Let's see if we can have a second one. That'd be great.
Nice. I am going to go with Bernd Wiesberger, who has some decent results since coming back from playing live golf. But I think something like last week will have been a moment for him going, I should have been there playing that event and contending. That's the sort of level of golfer he is and was before playing live golf and missing out on world ranking points and missing out on eligibility and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's a little internal drive. He's also finished in the top sort of 25 pretty regularly. This sort of golf suits him. So I think Bernd Wiesberger is the choice for me. And yet again, yes.
Sorry, mate. If I'm not mistaken, was Bernd Wiesberger not in the last couple of groups in 2014 at Valhalla when Rory won it?
I think he might have been. If not that year, he has been at a PGA Championship.
There was a PGA, and I've got a feeling it might have been that one. So you're right. That would have been quite the needle for him last week.
Yeah.
I was finishing in the dark last time. Here I am watching it on TV. Something's not right about this picture. Yeah.
Exactly. And I take great pleasure in the who would Logue pick part of this event too, where Alex Fitzpatrick gets a start here this week. And it's not a tournament without Logue tipping the Fitzpatricks, but giving the whole family a warning. So normally gives each player a warning that they could be on the way out. This one, he would go up with the entire family, Matt, Alex, mum and dad. They're on their last warning if there's no delivery.
So if there was a Logue Cup a la the Ryder Cup, would these guys be in contention like for the captain's pick, the Logue pick, the Fitzpatricks, they come as a job lot? If you can't pick one without the other, the Logue Cup
100%.
Can't have a single Fitzpatrick, can't have one Højgaard. If you take one, you take the other. That's
exactly
how the Logue
right.
Cup works.
Yeah,
nice.
exactly right. Yeah.
Good work.
Finally, he's doing great work despite not being here. He's interestingly in a place where they have taxis labelled as Wham Town in Japan. I don't know where that is, but
something feels like it went wrong with the translation there from the Japanese characters to that's just what it feels like. But yes, a very entertaining photo that he sent us yesterday.
Yes. And finally this week, there is another major. This is this kind of mad major season. There's, women's major next week. There's all sorts of stuff happening. But KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship at Harbour Shores Resort, where Steve Stricker is the defending champion and all the usual PGA Tour Champions players in the field. So obviously over 50s major. KitchenAid Senior PGA, one of my favourite tournament names in golf. Just hits right. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yep, KitchenAid make like pans and all that sort of stuff. But significantly to raise our attention, there's 14 Australians in the field. So we're having this huge run on the LPGA. We're having a big run on the Champions Tour as well, where we had that handful of guys get through qualifying last year at Q School, or started this year, I should say. But then in amongst this, you've got you guys like Scott Hend, who have turned 50 and gone and played European Legends Tour and won. So he's actually got to start this week. A really interesting sort of a proposal. You know, lives in the States, plays that style of golf very well, and is in that really sweet spot. But then you got Cam Percy and Greg Chalmers got through pre-qualifying. Your Steve Allen, Stuart Appleby's, John Sentons, Michael Wright, Dave Branson of the Q School sort of gang. So big group of ours. If I were to tip someone, I would tip Padraig Harrington, just because he seems like he's never stopped trying to get better. It just strikes me as a remarkable feat.
It's an interesting pick, Jimmy. It's a shame that you got it wrong, though, because clearly KJ Choi, I checked, and he's in the field. He is the man to beat this week, coming in off a win last week. And the Korean Tour is competitive. It's not the same sort of golf as what you see in the States and around the rest of the world, but it's competitive. You win there. You beat some guys who really play that kind of golf well. So that's really good form. I'll go with KJ.
I'd love to see KJ get a senior major, so I can't argue with that. If we were turning to Logue in this moment, does he tip Bernhard Langer because Bernhard Langer just always wins, or a bit, you know? Surely that's his Scotty Scheffler equivalent, or Steve Stricker because he's, you know.
I'm not going to pick for him on this one because this is his era, so there'd be something interesting. Like these guys are the golfers of his youth, so there's a different perspective that would come there that we possibly can't even pick at. Like the day when he described, the Kamikazaki golf course is like if you asked a child to draw a dog. He made sense of it eventually, but when you start, you can't see it. So I think that's one of those from Logue.
Exactly. That's fair. See, that's where we've really captured his essence. He's basically here in AI form. I reckon we could find an AI to spit out our words in his voice, and then he can just have every week off.
I'll have a look. Yeah. Well, we could just have a rotating roster, Jimmy. Just take a week off each, record a bit of stuff, leave that on, and you can do it later. We won't do that.
That will do us for episode 64. And it's actually, I'm about to get on a plane to go to Melbourne, but it's quite cold in Sydney, Rod. So the big question is, how does the cold weather affect the hot tub plans of a newly out of school mature age student?
It's an incentive. God, I have to. You've just laid out my own life in front of me. I've seen it from above for the first time. I'm in a mid-50s, middle-aged, middle-class white bloke who's just got a hot tub having finished a course. I didn't know that, Jimmy.
I did. And I think others picked
It's clear from the outside. Yeah, it's clear from the outside. Obviously. Just different view from in here. That's exactly right.
Yes. We look forward to Logue's return from Whamtown next week, I think. But in the meantime, get out and get the June issue of Golf Australia magazine. Brooks Koepka on the cover. Previews of the US Open and US Women's Open in there. There's a one-on-one with Gary Player that I did myself. It's also the first issue of new editor James Smith. So get out and support a guy who's taken over from the great Brendan James and is doing his best with BJ's blessing. And then you can follow along on all this week's tournaments and so much more on the Golf Australia magazine website, golfaustralia.com.au. You'll see a bit of stuff about every one of these events and the results and previewing and TV guides and everything like that. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week on Playing from the Tips.